I have in front of me here a new product, a sort of an upgraded product we have on the tvtray.ie website, and it's a wireless AV sender, okay? And basically the idea of it is that we come along and we wirelessly broadcast a signal from, say, a satellite receiver like this to a remote location, say in a second room, a television like this, okay? Now the traditional ones that we would have sold these work very well, and they would have were quite large units. They sat on top of the box here, they sat next to the television over there. And the big disadvantage with them was simply they were bulky in size, okay? Now, an alternative to this is these units here. They're called the compact, and for obvious reasons. Instead of being standalone, they actually push in and sit themselves into the SCART connection on the back of a television. So we have a transmitter and a receiver unit here. And we also have this unit here, which is an adjustable, rotatable SCART adapter. So what happens here is we have female on one side, male on the other. So if we come along to a flat screen television, we'll say, and we come there and then we want to push this into the bottom, and then we adjust this around and we can push in the receiver unit there, okay? Now that comes along with two IR sensors. This IR sensor here will go on the transmitter end. It picks, it feeds back a signal from the remote location to allow you to change the channel on the box. And this sensor here works like a Sky Eye, so it allows you to change the channels from the remote location, pushes back the signal to this unit, which in turn changes the boxes. And finally, the final two pieces of the jigsaw here are power units that power the whole system here, with one either end, and they work on a 7.5 volts, and there's a user manual here that's reasonably decent. So I'm just going to demonstrate this working, and hopefully it'll work quite smoothly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to disconnect the SCART lead at this particular point in time, and I'm going to put in a transmitter unit onto it, okay? So the first thing here is we have to pick out the units here. So I think that if we look here on the bottom of this, it'll say transmitter unit, and by this logic, if we look at the far unit, not surprising, it says receiver unit, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to come along here, we're going to push this into, there's two switches on this, each can be in an up or down position, so we have a total of 4 different settings. And this allows us to broadcast in different channels, so in case we're broadcasting a channel where there's already a frequency being used, we can just change it. So normally the default position is both 1 and 2 in the up position, so I normally just test it on that. So what we're going to do here is I come along and I push this into the SCART lead here, pushes in quite tight like that. And the next thing I do is I come along and I put in the power lead here. Just going to plug it in, turn it on, and the final part of the jigsaw here is I come along and I'm going to get this and push this into the 9 volt input, or the DC input here. So it just pushes in like this, and I think the on switch is on this already, and you'll instantly see the LED light comes on. Okay, we'll throw this unit back around. I'll move to this should be in a second location, of course. Would need an AV sender if the box was right next to the receiver, but we push this power unit in here. I'm going to get this adjustable unit here. I'm going to slot it in here. Pushes in that smoothly. I turn it around to the angle that I want it. I come along, I get the receiver unit. I have it here, and I push it in here like this. And the next thing is I simply get the power unit I plugged in earlier, push it in here, and I'm going to push the on switch here. And we can see instantaneously now we've received a picture on the far end. And the reason that this is working here at this particular point is that even though if you look down on the table here in front of us here, we still haven't used the sensors at this point. And the reason we haven't used these sensors is that we don't need this to simply broadcast the signal from one television to the other, okay? Because the purpose of this is only to allow us to change channels from the remote location. So in its simplest form, you can actually leave it at that. But most people, of course, do want to add on the feature where you're able to change channels remotely, okay? So I'm just going to demonstrate one quick feature here, which is I'm going to change the channel switch settings here, okay, to a different channel setting. So I'll put it to setting 1 and 2. Okay, so we see the far television is, so now it's both switches are in down position. And if we come down along here, so we can see the picture has disappeared. And if I come along here and set it here, we can come along, and if you come to the front of the television here, you'll see here now. So you can sometimes find that by flicking to a different channel, if you had an interference problem, this will clear the problem for you. Okay, so what I'm just going to move quickly on here is the Sky Eye sensor here. And this is going to simply push into this slot here. And on the far end, what we want to do is we want to push it into the back of this unit, on the transmitter unit, and then feed these sensors here. We'd normally have a little piece of sticky pad and we'd stick them onto the front of the box here. And what this will allow us to do is actually aim at the Sky Eye over here and actually change the channels from the remote location. So think about the logic of what's happening here. The signal is traveling from this remote control from the receiver into the Sky Eye, which goes to the receiver unit and sends the signal back over to the original transmitter unit. Transmitter unit picks up this signal, runs it through this cable and feeds it into the sensor on the front of the box, which allows you to change the channel. Okay, so from that perspective it's quite excellent, works extremely well. So now what I'm going to say to you is the one limitation with 2.4 gigahertz is a lot of things broadcast at 2.4 gigahertz. If your house is knee deep in wireless signals, you know, this may or may not work for you. There's a more expensive unit you can buy, which is a 5.6, which is sort of an industrial unit. And you know, it will almost eliminate any possibility that it won't work because very few things are broadcasting at 5.6. Although in years to come, undoubtedly, that will become a crowded space as well. But in most situations, this will work perfectly. You can, if you just come back here and look at the thing here, picture here, that's absolutely fantastic picture that we have on it. So it works extremely well, and you know, we think this will be a very successful product for us. The other thing about it is that the compact design makes this a very, very good option, even for people who have flat screen TVs hung on the wall. This is an option that may well work quite well for them. Okay, that's beginning to end the compact 2.4 gigahertz wireless AV sender.